Hey everyone, this is episode 126 of Noodle Time. Welcome back. Here tonight, I do have Juan Pereira coming back for another episode. How's it going, sir?
I'm doing good right now. Obviously, just like most Dynamo fans, I'm kind of starved for some news, but right now I have CONCACAF U17 World Cup qualifiers in the background, still having a good time. So everything's as good as it could be with no rumors, or a few rumors. So I'm doing good right now.
No, yeah, man. The season just right around the corner. A lot of soccer going on. Real Madrid beating Man City. Oh, she's not here to cry me about it, unfortunately. Merseyside Derby, man.
Dude, oh
That's
Lord.
insane.
Dude,
We can go forever,
dude.
but yeah, man.
Yeah,
This is a very special episode
I
because we
do want
do
to mention
have.
something about that. I don't know if people know, but I am an Argentine fan because of Salomon Rondon, the Venezuelan
Yeah.
goat, who I'm sure we'll be talking about a little bit later because of the whole Leagues Cup thing with the Dynamo. But if you
Mm-hmm.
haven't watched the highlights of the Merseyside Derby, please do while you're waiting for your Dynamo news in the next couple of weeks.
Absolute insanity. I had to rewatch it, but you can just watch it like 10 times over. But but yeah, man. Like, this is a very special episode because this can also serve as a special announcement because we do have a programming change when it comes to who's going to be handling Noodle Time as a host. And it is my pleasure to actually introduce you to Mark Segovia as our newest host for Noodle Time. And he's actually here right now if you're not watching a video. So, Mark, how's it going, sir?
Andres, Juan, what's going on, guys? Uh, First and foremost, thank you for the opportunity to come, onto y'all platform and the opportunity to do this podcast. Obviously, a couple of you guys know that I've done a couple of podcasts in the past. With Generation Orange, La Banca podcast, and all stuff like that as well. Just glad to, kind of get that get the little. I got a little scratch, and now I got I got a little itch, and I can scratch it.
Yeah, and if you guys are not sure who Mark is, you guys probably have seen a few episodes of No Time with him involved, a couple times already, and he's been involved a lot when it comes to content creation on the Dynamo. Of course, a lot of content, Generation Orange, if I'm not mistaken, at some
Mhm.
points, or and yeah, like he said, on previous platforms, covering all sorts of soccer, really. So he's extremely knowledgeable, and of course, extremely passionate about Dynamo. We're so excited to have him on board for this upcoming season because we have a lot of content in the pipeline, and he's gonna definitely assist us with that. But yeah, man. Without
Yeah,
further, yeah,
I'm looking forward to it, guys. I'm gonna try to hold up the extremely knowledgeable part of it.
mm-hmm.
We'll see how far. We'll see how knowledgeable I am. Obviously, I'm a huge Dynamo supporter. Love the Dynamo for Orange, guys. You know how it goes. So yeah, I'm just excited to get started. Obviously, new season around the corner, and yeah, man, I'm so ecstatic, and I'm ready to go.
Man, just all to talk about right now, and just a couple of weeks before the Dynamo season starts, and really just a lot of questions still to be answered. But without further ado, I'm just gonna go ahead and hand it up to Mark so he can take over from here.
So, guys, obviously, this is gonna be my first time taking over Noodle Time. I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, having Juan and Andres here with me as co-hosts today. I mean, it's a great way of obviously to initiate myself back into the groove of things and get back into the groove of things. But let's get things started, man. I mean, obviously today, officially, our new home kit has dropped. Guys, I mean, obviously, I've seen it. We all seen it. We've seen the leaks prior. Now we've gotten to see it up close and personal. Either one of you gotten it yet, or have you ordered it yet, or anything like that?
Not yet.
Not
But
yet.
I'm working on it
I'll,
because
I'll see if
it's incredible.
I'll see if I
You've
buy
seen
it.
it in person already?
I'm pretty. I'm more of a training kit type of guy, honestly. If you see my collection,
Okay.
there's actually a lot of training kits. They cost like half the price, and they still get some pretty good designs. But when I saw,
Oh, for sure.
great.
So I mean, obviously, the MLS has gone with this two-year type of deal where we get a home kit for 2 years and then we get an away kit for 2 years. So obviously, our away kit will remain the purple lean kit, which is an amazing kit in itself. And obviously, now we have our new home kit. Guys, I mean, you just your quick opinions about it. I mean, obviously, we saw the return of the Space City Blue. on it. I mean, are you guys into it? Are you guys not into it? I mean, do you care either way whether or not it's there or not, or or hey, let's do it. It's tradition.
And I can start for sure because I'm 100% on board with the Space City Blue coming back.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of sucks that not really. Obviously, you understand that that color was just transition to the dash, just incorporated as a colorway, while the Dynamo kept the silver after the rebrand. And for me, it was kind of sad to do that switch because the Space City Blue has been with the team for that long already, for like over 15 years, 16 years, and yeah, kind of unfortunate after the swap, but I'm definitely so happy that
That's
just
back.
to celebrate, to commemorate this occasion, we just bring it back for the home kit for the next couple of years at least. And I just hope it's just some sort of like element we can apply or like at some point in the future because everyone loves this jersey. Like everyone loves all the elements incorporated, not just the color itself, but also
Yeah.
like the design you can see up front and how it looks. Because with the combination with the white shirts are back, by the way, so
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
amazing. So everyone loves it. So it's
Yeah.
very very great reception so far.
Yeah, I
What
was.
about you, Juan?
Oh yeah, I was about to say. At least for me, what makes the entire like fit, the vibe, are the shorts. At least
Yeah,
for me, it gives off something different from what we've seen these past couple of years. Where like, I guess it gives off like a gritty type of vibe, which is like what we were going for with like Ache Ache and Coco. Red
Mhm.
cards galore sometimes, but like that gritty vibe. But now this year we're moving into like a younger era, and it feels like it's a brand new splash of originality, like still paying homage to our legends, but also
Mhm.
combining that white and that Space City blue. Which I mean, as you've been following like Houston sports for the last couple of years, that's something we're trying to incorporate like all the
Mhm.
major sports together. So at least for me, the white shorts make it. Like without it, I'd say like it'd be like a 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10. But like just seeing the
Okay.
entire fit, I think it's probably one of the best in MLS.
Yeah, I think for myself personally, I mean, obviously, this is the 20th anniversary of the Dynamo, and obviously, that has a lot to go with it. Obviously, kind of representing our our beginnings, the '06 season and all that stuff, and obviously with the whole orange and white and baby blue. Um, from my standpoint, I mean, I love the jerseys. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it's a great jersey. I love the shade of orange that they get this time around. I really love it over the one from the previous home kit, and obviously bringing back the white is something awesome as well. The baby blue, I've never really been a fan of the baby blue. I mean, I can be with or without it, to be honest. But I mean, but like I said, the way they incorporated it on this kit, I mean, it looks amazing and it looks really sharp, and I can't wait to see it on the pitch. Hopefully, the first game on the 23rd against FC Frisco. So,
yeah.
but yeah, man. I mean, anything else y'all want to add on top of about the kit before we move on?
Well, the launch video was incredible.
Yes, yes,
If you
yes,
haven't
yes,
seen it already, like it involves a lot of Dynamo legends, including
yes.
Brian Ching, Stuart Holden, the
Boniac,
Marcus Beasley,
But
and
Boniac.
Bonilla Garcia. Last
Yeah.
but not least, just the way that they're just wearing their own jerseys from their own time, and just passing it forward to Ponce towards the end. It's just incredible.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
probably one of the best launches they've ever done, honestly.
Yeah, and if you see on the introduction video, obviously like it, Brian Ching, 2-time MLS champion, Stuart Holden, 2-time MLS champion, Bonia Garcia, U.S. Open Cup champion, DeMarcus Beasley, U.S. Open Cup champion, and then obviously it ends with Ponce, and hopefully Ponce whenever we do another video next time, it has some kind of champion underneath his name pretty soon. So so that way we can associate him with the championships that we already have here as a franchise and as a club. Yeah, but guys, if there's anything else you want to add before we can move on.
yeah, actually, one thing about the intro video, and I thought it was a really nice touch, is that for every player they used the original kits that they wore, but the
Oh
Yeah,
players
yeah,
were all white, right? At
yeah,
least for me, it was giving like a timeline between like this is what we were before, this is what we're at now, but it's all Dynamo using those white
for
pants
sure.
with like the new logo. So I just thought that was a really nice touch, and the fact that they also used the old logo for the old jerseys when they
Hmm.
could have easily
yeah,
maybe put in the new one, but they kept close to heritage while also giving the old legends a fresh new look with the pants. So I honestly
yeah.
I enjoyed the pants. Honestly, that's what I was looking at the most.
For sure, for sure. I mean, and a shout out to Stuart Holden and his kit that he wore, man. That's actually one of my favorite Dynamo home kits of all time, the one with the MLS and the US flag on the back of it. But yeah, man, that's a great jersey that he wore, and obviously it's a homage to our past and obviously the 20th year that we're celebrating this season. So, hopefully we do some great things for our 20th season as we did for our first couple of seasons as well here in the MLS. So, but yeah, guys, speaking of great things and, and moving forward and, and things of that nature, let's talk about the Dynamo offseason. I mean, I know a lot of you guys have been up to date about what's going on, all the great players that have come in and all that great stuff, and obviously the season being a week and a half away from starting, kicking off. We've lost a lot of big name players, a lot of players that have contributed to the team in the last couple of seasons with huge admiration. Do you think that we've fairly replaced those players that we've lost? And if so, I mean, who do you think is going to carry the load? And what do you see ahead? Do you see anything ahead? Obviously, I know everybody in the franchise and the supporters and the club and the fan bases are waiting for this designated player that we're supposed to be getting in pretty soon. Hopefully, I don't know if we're going to get in this transfer window, if not in the summer. But I mean, just your thoughts overall on the current status of the offseason.
Well, I can definitely say for sure that the offseason has been pretty slow when it came to news and fans just trying to find like silver linings, because there's definitely a couple that happened later on, but of course losing Hector Herrera and Coco Carrasquilla in the same window, it was gonna put a lot of fans, or at least try to see like how the Dynamo are gonna approach the offseason, because
those are big shoes to fill.
Yeah, exactly, and
Huge
we're
shoes.
losing a lot of experience, and we're probably gonna have to spend a lot of money to get players with close to that pedigree, And of course, like over the course of the offseason, they were able to sign a couple players already. Jack McGlynn is definitely our best signing we've done so far. In terms of a player that's actually gonna come in and start right away. And of course, we did sign like a couple of young players, and we're still looking into potentially like signing some more to address those things. But at the same time, like the main big one that you've already mentioned was the fact that we haven't really filled our open designated player spot.
Yeah,
and that's something that Pat Alonso has been somewhat vocal every time he's gone to Soccer Matters with Glenn Davis, is that we're still looking into it. And last time we've heard, it's just like we're still working on it, and we should have it by the end of the window, which is like in April. So it might just be a while. It might not necessarily be here by the time when the season starts, which is kind of disappointing because we're still looking for that playmaker to change the game for us, and that experience that's valuable. And for now, it's just a matter of trusting the young players that can, in that profile, can definitely play those positions that were left open. But we're trusting that we have those expectations for players that don't have that experience yet.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit concerning for sure. But on my perspective, I do trust Ben Olsen and the front office here, because they've already shown us time and time again that they know what they're working with. And I just still hope for the best. And of course, the injuries and all that, not to mention. So yeah.
Juan, let me ask you this question. We go from an experienced player who's won championships in Europe, who's represented Mexico in the World Cup on 4 different occasions, who has a ton of experience. Someone from like Hector Herrera, and obviously our biggest signing to date for this offseason, and Jack McGlynn, who's 20 years old. You're going from a hugely experienced player to a player who has obviously the sky's the limit with Jack McGlynn, right? We've seen the clips, we've seen the highlights, we've seen the goals that he's scored. He's a very an amazing player that we were able to acquire from Philadelphia Union, with a lot of upside, and he seems very determined to obviously showcase that the fact that we know what we paid for him is, obviously fair that we pay for him, or or hopefully we fleeced Union in this transaction, right? But with that being said, you're going from a veteran player with a lot of experience to relatively, young player, rookie. Not, I don't want to say rookie because he's played in MLS already, but inexperienced, learning his craft, understanding the game. What do you think? Do you think it's too much pressure to put on Jack?
Well, really, no, because I'm just gonna say it straight up. Ache talent-wise was probably one of the best, if not the best player we've ever had, and that
Mm-hmm.
is something that I will stand behind 10 times out of 10. But if we're talking about pure team value, what they add in, I'm not gonna say statistics because I know people will hate on me for it, but just like what they can add to the team with the numbers, but also like with pure quality right now. I think Jack is a better player right now than Ache is right now. That might be a hot take or whatever. Obviously, Ache in his prime, just miles ahead, just because he was playing in La Liga. Obviously, Jack has like 1 to 2 U.S. men's national team caps to his name, but in terms of what they can give you right now, I think Jack gives you more. Specifically, some sort of verticality. Kind of what we saw from Ache in 2023 when he would, sometimes advance from that CDM role and kind of connect with Bassi or the winger Quinones, and he'd get those goal contributions. So I think Jack can definitely do that. So I think, at least from the question you asked me, I don't think there will be any decrease in quality right now. What we could see maybe is a little bit less feistiness on the field. I feel like that was a Ben Olsen brand last year, where it's like, this team just fights, and fights, and part of that is Ache. Like that's just the character he is, and we
Yeah.
get to see if Jack is going to do that. So
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously Achachi being our captain for the last 2 seasons, the team kind of surrounded itself around the type of player he was, and like I said, he was a feisty player. The Dynamo, obviously, we saw them become a little bit more of an aggressive type of team where they weren't being poached over. But obviously, with Hector leaving to Toluca, and then obviously us transferring Coco over to Pumas. Obviously, though, that's another big hole that's been left in our midfield, which I arguably think that we had one of the top 3 midfields in the league for the last couple of seasons with Ache, Coco, and Arthur. So, I mean, obviously, I think, not just with the departure of Hector and Coco, I mean, that's a huge hole. Jack coming in my opinion, I mean, like I said, a lot of flair, obviously a lot of youth, a lot more speed. Obviously, is something that we can see, and obviously there's been a lot of great connections in the preseason with him assisting on a couple of goals and all that good stuff. So I mean, like I said, I just don't want to have so much pressure on him for the get go because of his youth, and obviously, I think we want to continue the success that we've been having for the last couple of seasons. I mean, obviously the past 2 seasons having back-to-back appearances in MLS playoffs. It's something to build off of and continue that wave. It's something that obviously the club and the franchise want to continue. But with that being said, I mean, obviously we brought in Junior Uso, who played with Orlando City and I believe Charlotte FC for a little bit, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
He just signed with us, I believe, a couple of days ago. Obviously, an older player, somebody who's a veteran presence, but somebody that can fill in a couple of minutes, and take over for Arthur or for the other spot, CDN spot, depending on how we're going to play the midfield. If we're going to continue playing it the same way we were playing prior, or if we're going to have an attacking 10 coming in later on. But your thoughts on the Junior Uso signing from Orlando City or Charlotte FC, which I forgot what the last club he came in from. But Andres, your thoughts?
No, yeah, it was Charlotte, but this is definitely a solid depth signing. Him just coming off the bench for us, or at least subbing in or replacing him whenever we have to rotate players for Arthur definitely takes some load off him. So it's just great, and experience. You don't have to really say anything else because he already has his fair share of experience in MLS, and we know what we're working with. So this is extremely smart. Obviously, it was a free agent at the time, so
Mhm.
not a lot of resources to spend here. So it's great, very smart.
Juan, anything you want to add on Junior?
yeah, honestly, in terms of, I like to look at teams when they build their rosters through like people in, people out, right? Like let's
Mhm.
see what has come out and let's see what we've gotten in return. So at least for me, when I see Achache, Coco, Gregus, Junior Moreno leave, right? Who comes in? So with Jack, okay, cool. That's one player we've come in and replaced. You could maybe include Sebastian Rodriguez, who will be getting his first team contract in 2025. Cool. But also, Gregus and Junior Moreno have left, and Valverde is also on loan somewhere else. So you got to fill that spot.
And Blessing.
And Blessing as well. But I'm going to count Blessing more on the offensive side here.
On the win, okay.
Yeah. But at least in terms of like pure midfielders, you've lost a couple players that could have gotten minutes. Some of them didn't. So I believe that this signing checks all the boxes for who should be that Junior Moreno replacement. Someone that, unlike them, can actually play minutes. Because even though he's 36, he doesn't have a lack of MLS experience even last year. So,
but that's where I go back to where I like, the last 2 seasons. I'm thinking that we had the top 3 midfields because we didn't have to give up so many because we were so stacked. Like they, Coco, Ache, Arthur. As long as those 3 were available, you knew our midfield was straight. And that was no worries. So I think that's why like a lot of minutes weren't available to a Moreno or to a Brooklyn, who I think is another player who has to step up this season, and others as well. And then I'm sorry, you want to say something?
Well, I mean, I get it, right? Obviously, I don't think the starting midfield will be as strong in quotation marks because I honestly still think that depends on the DP10, right? Whoever that is that comes in, like that could revitalize that midfield again. And suddenly, instead of Ache, Coco, and Artur, you have Artur, Jack McLean, and a really good DP10 who plays that natural position. I feel like even Coco wasn't playing in that natural position. So even if we get someone on the similar level technically, but just plays that DP10 position better, then I do feel like that midfield could get even better. And I feel like we're forgetting 2 years ago, we brought in Sebastian Kowalczyk to kind of see if he can replace Coco because we all thought he was leaving for Rayo Vallecano. So at least for me, I'm not stressing out too much about the quality dropping specifically because obviously losing Coco is going to be a net loss if we don't replace that. But right up we have Kowalczyk, who has shown sparks of being like that true 10 that we've needed, and he's also very versatile. So I don't think the level will drop that much. And at this point, you just need bodies in that midfield when you've just lost so many. So at least we're so too much for that.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like Kowalczyk is due, and I think that he's eager to prove that he is a starter on this team. And obviously, I remember when he came in, he was supposed to replace Coco because Coco was supposed to transfer to La Liga or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. Another name that came in, obviously, this one was a little bit earlier in the offseason, was Eric Duenas from LAFC, the young 20-year-old. They have him as a midfield defender. I've kind of seen him as more as a defender than a midfielder, but I mean, obviously, I think Ben likes to have those players who can play multiple roles and be as versatile as possible. So whenever he needs anybody somewhere, he can place them. But I mean, obviously, a 20-year-old Mexican from LAFC, obviously, he's played MLS minutes over there, and he's obviously been in a championship environment with the LAFC. Any thoughts on him, Andres? As he I mean, obviously, I think I've heard a little bit of noise on him in the preseason. He's doing pretty well out there.
Solid depth again. Like, it's obviously not as much experience as Orso for sure, but there's a very smart signing. There's still a lot of waivers from LAFC, which again, we don't have to like transfer him or anything like that. So it's just great and somebody to look forward to. I'm sure he might just get more minutes with those in certain occasions, but I feel like he might get those opportunities to be on bench just in case.
I mean, if anything, I mean, we are going super young. I mean, we have gotten way younger. Obviously, with Jack being 20, Eric being 20, Uso. I mean, obviously he contradicts that, but I mean, it's we've gotten super young. We've gotten younger. I mean, I think one of the things that did affect us the last couple of years was the lack of speed on our midfield. But I mean, obviously, when you don't have speed, but you have high level technical abilities like those players did, you don't need speed as much if you're able to possess the ball the way that we've been able to possess the ball the last couple of seasons. Any thoughts on anybody else? Obviously, I know I failed to mention Jimmy Meyer, who's our backup. We got him from FC Dallas. Obviously, just to back up Tarbell. I don't know if you want to mention anything about him or anybody else that I might have missed from this offseason.
Well, at least for me, thinking about the state of our midfield, two
Mhm.
things have happened. One, I think the overall starting quality right now, not including DP10, has fallen down slightly. Not a lot, just slightly, because Jack gives you different things than Achache, but Achache gives you different things than Jack. So obviously there's differences there that we'll have to manage. But aside from that, I mean, the bench is also getting better. At least I think, in my
Mhm.
opinion, the bench is much better because you have Greg is gone, Valverde gone, and I mean,
Sebastian Ferro.
aside from that, I
Yeah.
mean, the bench just looks better. At least for me, it just looks much better.
Yeah, I mean, and that just goes to show. I mean, obviously, like I said, we let go of our highest earner in Achache. We let go of one of our highest quality players and got our biggest transfer fee ever in club history. And by selling Coco to Pumas, they bought out Sebastian Ferreira, which opened up the DP spot. So as a fan base and a supporter, a lot of people are like, well, there should be money available, and we should have been on this DP10. Like I said, who knows? They're I tell you, the Dynamo front office, man, those guys hold on to their secrets better than than the U.S. government, man. To be
Yeah.
honest, I don't know how those guys do it, man. But the leaks don't be leaking, man. Whatever plumber they have plumbing for them, I need that guy. But I mean, yeah, man, but we obviously there's rumors and stuff that still comes out the wave, and obviously one of the players that we've heard, nothing too exciting as far as the offensive end, but obviously shoring up the defense. Felipe Adrande, a Brazilian center back that might be signing with us here pretty soon. As we move forward and the season starts. Any thoughts on that one, Juan? Before we move on.
Yeah, I think one thing I noticed from last season was the utter lack of depth at right back. Obviously, Schmidt at some point was playing D2 minutes,
Mhm.
and Steris was mainly being that cover for Escobar. So I pretty much feel like that tells you everything you need to know about Dorsey being
Yeah.
the only guy left out there. For
Mhm.
Andrade, obviously, he's going to be primarily a center back, but he can drift out wide to that right back position. I don't know if he'll be able to push up the same way Dorsey does, but at least when it comes to people that can play, if we absolutely need to, emergency right backs, like Dorsey just needs a break, or God forbid he gets injured, he's someone that slots in right there. So
A versatile defender.
yeah, a versatile defender, and I feel like we already have one of those with Steris, and
Mhm.
Steris is playing out of position at left back. So
Oh,
Andrade,
definitely.
maybe playing in a secondary position there could still work for Ben if he absolutely needs it to be. So I think it goes back to my earlier point that I do think the bench has gotten better overall, also younger. So I feel like if there's
Yep.
one thing we can take from this offseason, even if the product on the first 11 has fallen down a little bit, I do think the bench is much better. And I feel like if it sticks out that kind of the way it is, maybe one more signing, a DP10 that then moves Kowalczyk to the bench,
Yeah.
or maybe even a Blessing that comes back. Who knows where he is right now, training on Instagram. But if he comes back and you move Kowalczyk to the bench, and you already have all these pieces that are young for that bench, and also Jimmy Mallard to bring experience, I do think this bench is much better and much more set up for the future, because you also got Femi Awodesu and Sebastian Rodriguez from D2 on first team contracts.
Sure. Andres, another name that's been rumored with the Dynamo, but it's, maybe it's kind of fading away a little, just a tad bit. Was what's this guy's name? Lescano, Ruben
Yeah.
from our from our favorite
Libertad Paraguay. Yeah.
from our favorite Paraguayan team in Libertad. Any thoughts on him? Have or any maybe just a little bit of a analysis on his part, and what do you think of him as a player? Obviously, a central midfielder looks like more of an 8 type of player instead of an attacking 10. But obviously, like I said, we've left big holes in our midfield, and obviously we're trying to fill that up as quickly as possible. Any thoughts on him, on Ruben Lescano?
Yeah, for Lescano, I wasn't really high on him because it looks like Houston reached out for him initially, but talks didn't go through. It
Mhm.
looks like they were just asking for more money, and Houston were just sticking to like the original plan. So yeah, I don't think it's gonna happen either way. But still, just looking at the profile of the player, like he looks like a player that could have definitely succeeded with Houston. maybe it's still a target for the future, but with the way things look now, like it's just something that it's out of control at this point.
No worries, no worries. Yeah, I mean, obviously, when names are linked to Dynamo as a fan, obviously from my standpoint, I mean, obviously I get excited because, like I said, we hear so few names so far in between rumors and stuff like that. So when a new name is presented to us, we can't help as a fan base to be happy and excited and see what go look him up on YouTube or go look him up on whatever club that he comes from, and see what kind of type of player and profile he brings and how he can help us, go on FIFA and see his FIFA rating or whatever, all that crazy stuff that fans do and all that great stuff. But obviously, Atlanta seems more of a lock here pretty soon. We'll see how it goes. Maybe next week we'll be officially announcing him as a new Dynamo player. Lescano, like Andres said, is probably a long shot at this point. But I mean, other than that, I mean, is there anybody else, I mean, maybe that I've missed that you've heard of before we move on to the next topic?
I mean, Mohamed Abu Fani was someone that was kind of linked to the Dynamo
Yeah,
to the point that even Glenn
the
Davis
famous
himself,
Abufani, man.
Glenn
Yeah.
Davis himself said that there was a little interest. I still feel like that's agent talk. Happens a lot. Agents like
Yeah, I
to
mean,
connect the Dynamo to certain players just because we do have a reputation, a good one, of bringing in Central American players. Or I mean, in this case, it's Mohamed Abu Fani and Europa.
Israeli player, right?
So, yeah, so it's not
Yeah.
exactly like Central America, but we do have a reputation of bringing in outsiders.
Mhm.
And for better or worse, then shipping them off, maybe at the expense of us not getting a good fee. Coco Carrasquilla aside, like example, Albert Elise and Kyoto and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
a lot of those links are just not true. I was in a conference a couple weeks ago, and I was speaking to someone that worked at Dynamo, and he told me in pretty simple terms, if Tom Berger doesn't tweet it, it's probably not true. So I feel like
No,
that's
I mean,
of the
look,
entire transfer.
So yeah, Tom is amazing in what he does, and obviously he's our guy over here on this side of the pond when it comes to MLS rumors and transfers and all that good stuff. So obviously, if Tom says it, then it's law, But obviously, but like I said, it's one of those times, especially during the winter transfer winter, and obviously in the summer when we come upon that, when we start hearing names linked to our clubs, we can't help as a fan base be excited to hear these names. If it's agent driven or player driven or front office driven or whatever kind of reason why their names are being linked. We just enjoy the fact that we get to, I guess, look up these players' profiles and see what just kind of, I guess, think and imagine of what they can do for us as a club to take us to the next step, right? Guys, with that being said, I mean, obviously, I know we touched on it a little bit. Just want to get your maybe a quick opinion of what the Dynamo need are. Obviously the designated player, but I mean, other than the DP10, I mean, what other needs do you think the Dynamo need at this moment to make sure that we have a successful run in the 2025 season? Juan, I'll go with you first. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, at least for me, when it comes to the roster construction, I actually think it's been pretty well done.
Mhm.
If you want me to group a grade for this offseason so far, DP10 aside, that's like it's a passing grade, right? So I don't think there's too much to add because we have some D2 guys coming up that will obviously be filling the roster spots. I think Houston won 24 players. I saw an Asher tweet that the supplemental roster spots were 21 to 24. So I think he wants to cap it at 24. I might be mistaken, but I do feel like in terms of personnel, there's not too many more people you could add. I have seen some people mention that the Dynamo should bring in a winger. Some have mentioned a Max Tam winger or a Gam winger. I'm personally not for that for the simple reason that, I mean, obviously, I know Aliu gets a lot of hate on this fan base for some
Yeah.
reason, and me and Andres are the only Aliu army people left in here. But you can't argue with 11 goal contributions. At some point you just have to be like, he was the leading guy on our team. I feel like if we had a striker that bagged like 10 goals or 11 goals, then the conversation around Aliu shifts. So I do feel like the battle between Arzu, who's also someone we haven't really talked about, but has been really shining in preseason, could be enough for the Dynamo to at least survive off the winger position, especially if Aliu plays the way he did earlier on in the year. So that's something that some people argue the Dynamo could need as a winger before the season
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm not gonna stand right there with you as far as Aliyu Army. I know, but it'll be a interesting topic to talk about in the future of shows. Obviously, depending on how his quality is this season. I mean, obviously, look, I hope the kid figures it out because I think as many minutes as he's playing, he should be able to contribute a lot more than what he has. But I mean, obviously, we have Quiones coming back. We have Inali hopefully coming back in the second half of the season. After his injury and all that stuff. So we'll see what happens. Andres, same question to you. What do you think Dynamo's biggest need, aside from the DP position, that the Dynamo need to seek help at?
Yeah, we already mentioned right back, which is extremely important, and I'm assuming that's already going to be covered when Felipe Andrade comes in.
Mhm.
But yeah, I'm 100% here with Juan because one of my other concerns, or at least positions to address, especially with the situation that we're at right now, it's definitely the winger situation
Mhm.
because we still have like Anali and Quinones still recovering from their injuries, and it's just a matter of time until they come back. But of course, we're probably just looking at a few more months before that ever happens.
Okay.
So obviously, we brought in Exxon Arsil last year for a deal that starts this year now. So it definitely doesn't work for us. And of course, like Juan just mentioned, apparently he's been doing great in preseason, and he's already getting the ad from Ben Olsen. So there's a good chance like he's going to be in bench at this point. Hopefully better, just to cover the hole that is just missing out on Nali and Quinones because they've just been absolutely deadly whenever they
Yeah.
start playing for Houston. And I just hope they come back pretty soon. I wouldn't really do a max stand for a winger at this point because whenever like an Alan Quinones come back, we might be looking at a similar situation when it came to Ferreira. So it's kind of like we don't want to waste resources here. We have to be very smart with what we've got.
For
So
sure.
I just hope that's the case. But for now, I think I would say probably just look at the winger situation and just be smart with it. Or those, just look at those for now.
I think for me, the position that I really that I really focus on is backup striker, um, behind Ponce, because the fact of the matter is obviously I think Ponce is capable of 15, 20 goals a year, if not more. Right? I think he has the skills and all that stuff to do it. And obviously, but we're gonna have a bunch of matches with League Cup and the U.S. Open Cup, and obviously with the MLS season going on. But I mean, Lord forbid, an injury occurs or whatever. But I think we need somebody capable behind him, and I don't think nephew Gabe Siegel is the answer. I mean, like I said, I haven't heard too much from him in the preseason. But I mean, right now I think he's slotted as our backup striker behind Ponce. And I'm just not comfortable with him being in that spot at this particular moment going into the season, and especially with this. I think there's a lot of availability at the striker position and the and free agency, and obviously players looking for homes and stuff like that. Man, it's just I think the backup nine for me is a position of concern at this moment for myself. Another position that I kind of, but it's kind of not too of a concern, but goalkeeping. I'm not, Xavier Valdez, obviously did a great job with Dynamo Dos last season, whatever. Obviously got senior caps with DR and all that good stuff. Not sure what will happen there in that situation, but I mean, but to go with a backup keeper who's I think 36, 37 years old, I mean, it's tough.
I mean, Andrew Tarbell's 31 years old. So Jimmy Maurer would be the backup, obviously. So, and I've heard that the Dynamo are pretty close to bringing in a D2 guy, at least to cover for that Xavier Valdez role. So I get the goalkeeping stance because obviously you're replacing Steve Clark with his backup from the year before. So it's kind of like, if he
Yeah.
wasn't starting the year before, then and now he's starting this year. Is that like a seniority thing, like respect for Steve Clark, or is it like he just wasn't as good as Clark last year? So only
No, I mean, look, Steve Clark did an amazing job for his tenure here, right? No disrespect to Steve Clark. The only thing, obviously, was the penalties.
Yeah.
He looked horrible. I mean, but this was thought with all the respect. because Steve Clark is one of the reasons why the Dynamo were able to turn around the last 2 years and be a playoff contending team, right? And
Yep.
lift and lift the U.S. Open Cup as well. But I'm excited for Tarbell. I mean, if he's able to grab this opportunity and grab the bull by the horns and take advantage of it and showcase that he's able to be a full-time MLS starting goalkeeper, then great. That's great. I mean, that's also just one less thing we have to worry about. But like I said, there are a lot of games that are going to be played, hopefully, especially with the League Cup and the U.S. Open Cup. Hopefully, we're making deep runs in those competitions as well, where, like I said, a quality backup and would be something that I would appreciate. Obviously, I'm not too familiar with Jimmy Murray as far as him being a keeper. I mean, obviously, I know he comes from Frisco and he's played in other MLS teams, and he's kind of one of those forever MLS goalkeepers that's been around for a while. So, I mean, he knows the situation, and maybe he can come in for a game or two and do a job for us. But I mean, but again, you're talking about a 36, 37-year-old keeper who, sitting on a bench for that amount of time, it's kind of hard to rev up and to be in that kind of ready position. Look, I'm 37. I mean, I'm 38, and it's hard for me to rev up sometimes. So, not to say that I'm trying to compare myself to any kind of athleticism of an MLS goalkeeper, but it's the bones start to crack a little bit. But
Yeah.
But any other position, guys, aside from the ones that we mentioned, I mean, that, like I said, what do you think about what I mentioned, the backup nine?
I mean, at least for me, I get what you're saying, and I
Mhm.
kind of agree. I do think Gabe Siegel showed enough at D2 where, like, if we started the season with him as the backup, I'd be okay with that. Wouldn't be
Yeah.
extremely happy, but I don't know if people remember, but Gabe Siegel was knocking in those free kicks like Messi, okay? Like,
Yeah.
go back to those MLS Next Pro games. He was knocking those down, scoring some actual on-pitch goals. But taking
Mhm.
away all that, like we mentioned with the winger talk, and Ali and Quinones come back, I'm pretty sure Aliu's just going to slide in behind Ponce at striker.
Yep.
Kind of similar to what happened at the end of 2023 when we actually made that deep run. It actually worked out quite well. Since Aliu wasn't scoring, Ben Olsen, started, Corey Baird in front of him. And then
Yeah.
whenever Corey got tired of pressing, Aliu came in and say what you want about the finishing. He would press for the remaining 90. So at least for me, I do think that could work. Like if you want to also limit Ponce's minutes, so he's not playing any minutes that he shouldn't be playing. Once an Ali and Quinones come back, and if they come back healthy, I think Aliu slots in perfectly as that, as that backup nine. But then there's the question, do Quinones and Ali come back healthy? So there's some risk involved. So I get what you're saying, but me personally, I do think that position would be covered if an Ali and Quinones come back healthy and Aliu goes into the bench. That position.
Awesome. Andres, any thoughts?
Yeah, man. Not much else to add. Like, I just thought like Juan also nailed the nail on the head right here because I'm also in the same camp when it comes to Gabe Segal. I'm 100% okay with Gabe being the backup, just based on what I've seen with those last year and what we know what's going on in the preseason this year. He's already contributing with goals in the preseason, which is great.
That's good. Yeah.
Of course, we don't know how it happened, but just him being involved and getting that trust from Ben already makes me hopeful. So I'm definitely okay with Gabe. If they bring in another striker from those who just try to figure out how to get to the backup, for me, I don't think it really makes sense because we still have Aliyu we could probably just play around with if we ever comes to that. So I think we're okay with the striker situation. Goalkeeper situation, yeah, I feel like they may just bring in like a third stringer for sure from those. And yeah, like I'm definitely okay with Tarble just being a starter at this point because just based on what I've been able to see, all the opportunities he was able to get last year, like he's a very solid keeper, and obviously just bigger shoes to fill because of Steve Clark being gone.
So with all that being said, as far as the talks of the offseason acquisitions and obviously the positions that we still need filled, that we think we still need filled. Andres, I'm gonna go to you first. What grade do you think are you giving the Dynamo at this moment right now?
I'll probably just give it a B minus because even though we got players that cover some of the big holes to an extent in the midfield, we'll still need that game changer with the designated player spot, and they're definitely gonna get an A as soon as they sign him in a couple months. I'm assuming, but yeah, I'll say B minus.
Juan?
Well, I'm actually going to go a little lower with you. I'm going to go C plus, just for the people
Yeah.
in Hinchada, all the fanboys that say I'm way too optimistic about the Dynamo. I'm going to go a little lower, and for one very simple reason. It's that with a B, you're usually happy with your off season, right? It's like, okay, you got the pieces you needed to, like, let's go into the season. With a C plus, you're like, okay, you pass, we go into the season, but you feel like you could have done a little better. And I
Yep.
do feel like all the hype of that DP coming, Pat Olmstad saying it several times, both on the show and in other places, that we want to bring that guy in. The possibility of that not happening yet is a little concerning. But at the end of the day, I still give it a passing grade because I do think this team will compete right away. Week one against Frisco and second week against Miami, that will be a tough match. But in terms of
Yeah.
the team, in terms of the team in general, I do feel like the glaring hole of Ache Ache was filled, and they specifically filled with a guy that they think that can do the job. So that's like 10 full marks. Like, you wanted to replace him, you got your guy, and that's it. Backups, you got your bench guys that I feel like that can contribute. For me, that was a big thing entering this offseason. What are we going to do with the bench? I do feel like that was filled excellent. A lot of young guys with high upside, or so obviously for that experience. And then give some D2 guys their contracts. Femi Awadesu and Sebastian Rodriguez. This is the stuff you want to see for a team that wants to continue to win. But it's just that glaring DP10 hole, man. Who's going to fill it? When is it
Yep.
going to be filled? I can't give them a B or higher until, they do that. But obviously, once they get it, I'm with Andres. That's an A. Because especially if it's good.
Yeah. So obviously Andres said B minus. You said C plus. I'm just gonna give him a fair C. From my standpoint, obviously the glaring fact of the designated player not being fulfilled. It's one of the major reason for that, right? I think as far as going into the season right now, I mean, obviously, you have a lot of leadership in this club with Arthur and Eric and all those guys. I think our defense is, going to be one of the better defenses, obviously with Escobar, Dorsey, Eric, and Mikael. Obviously, having all that time together and knowing each other, knowing where they're at, and knowing where everybody's at, and all that good stuff. I think our defense is pretty stout and pretty good. The midfield obviously is going to be the big issue there because we used to be so strong there, and now we don't know, right? If Jack McGlynn, like I said, if Jack McGlynn comes in and he's balling, then obviously that C grade goes up to a B minus B depending on how well he's doing, right? But if he comes in and he's stumbling a little bit, because let's look, he's a 20-year-old kid, he's a youth, you got to give him time to adapt, and you got to give him time to understand the system and all that stuff, whatever. And if he comes in and he's struggling a little bit, it is what it is. I mean, that's what we get for putting so much pressure on a kid to come in and fill in big shoes. And like I said, as far as the offense goes, I mean, obviously, I'm excited for Ponce to see what he does. I think, like I said, I think he's a easy 15 goals. 20, 25 would be amazing. Obviously, the return of Quiones in the second halfway in Ali Aliu, hopefully, going to another level and actually being able to score and cross and all that stuff, hopefully we'll see. I mean, I want to be a believer. I want to be part of his army, but he hasn't shown me that yet. So we'll see. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go with a C. But with that being said, guys, so we've had a couple of announcements, obviously, of some games outside of MLS that we're gonna be having here showcasing coming to our stadium pretty soon. One of the big games that I think is coming up pretty soon that I think has a lot of people excited is the March 19th game against the El Salvador national team that's been announced. Obviously, me being Salvadorian, I'm excited to see my national team come in as many times as they can. I constantly go to them when they come to Shell, if they're playing Reliant or whatever. I try to go support my country and all that stuff as well. Obviously, from the last Gold Cup, we saw how packed the stadium got with Guatemalans, Salvadorians, Hondurans, all Central American clubs being supported fully in that stadium. So I think it's an opportunity to showcase and to fill up that stadium and showcase the type of team that the Dynamo had, and Dynamo have, and try to capture those fans that only support their national teams and kind of bring them over, let them know, hey, there's a local team here, that normally does have a Salvadorian player or two on them. At this current moment, we don't, but I mean, you never know, right? We do a lot of scouting in Central America, so I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibilities that maybe in the future we do have a Salvadorian player or not. But just your thoughts on playing Salvador on the 19th of March, Juan.
Well, at least I'm not going to speak too much about it because at the end of the day, this is a friendly.
Yeah.
It's going to be mostly for the front office to, make some cash, which I'm always for, especially because they can schedule these fun events. Because for the fans, this is fun. For the front office, it's fun. The only thing I'm really going to touch on is I really hope some D2 guys get some good first team minutes in that match. Obviously,
sure.
who would have loved to see Ponce score a 90-minute screamer against El Salvador in that stadium? Just like the pure chaos would be just bonkers. But at the end of the day, I do see this as an opportunity for Ben Olsen to say, like, hey, Sebastian Rodriguez, maybe you haven't gotten any minutes so far this year. Give them to Urso. Here you go. Like, here's your 45 minutes against a national team. Go do something. Or Femi, Bartlow's ahead of you in the pecking order. Show me something. Like that type of stuff. And for them to wear the Dynamo kit at Shell Energy Stadium, Femi did it last year with those. He didn't play, but he got called up on loan. But he never made his first team debut. I do feel like that could be a good experience for some of the younger guys. Like maybe even someone like Andy Batiota. Like, if Anali and Quinones aren't back yet, hey, young guy, like get your first team cap, and, keep impressing us. And that can be used as a motivator. These friendlies can really be used as a motivator. I kind of think of it the same way Dorsey in 2023 Leagues Cup. I know those aren't really friendlies, but Ben Olsen used that time to experiment with a right back that would overlap. And look how that worked out for the rest of the MLS season. So I really hope that, I'm not expecting anything to come out of that game really revolutionary, but you never know, especially if Ben Olsen tries some new stuff.
Andres?
And we're definitely going to see some of those players. And I'm only saying that because they're playing on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
And a few days later, they have to travel to Seattle to play the Sounders, which is not a great place to play. So we're definitely saving the starters. This is going to be a great opportunity for those players, some bench players, to get playing time, just to try and get accustomed to, like Juan said. And yeah, like the other player we didn't really get to highlight in the previous topic was just the fact that Andy Batioja is there. Apparently, he's a very interesting prospect. The time I've been able to see him play for those last year, he's been pretty insane, extremely fast, and he's just able to get the ball forward at all costs. And he's with the Colombian national team, the youth national team already. So he's definitely one to watch. Those type of players that we need to get playing time, and especially get those eyes from Ben Olsen and technical staff. So I hope the best for them. They get those minutes and opportunities, so they can hopefully make the bench at some point. And yeah, it's the starters are going to get rested for sure here.
Yeah, I mean, those friendlies for me are obviously a great opportunity for those fringe players, for those 18 to 24 on the senior bench to get minutes that they obviously won't normally get because they don't make the match day roster, and obviously get your top prospects from Dino Dos to come up and play with the first team. So it's a great opportunity for those players, and obviously I hope to see a lot of those players play. I mean, it's like like back in the days with the Charity Cup and stuff like that. It's great to see them play, and obviously with the U.S. Open Cup being a different format and different and things like that, we can't really use like we used to before, where we would play the first couple of games against North Texas or whoever, and we use Dynados players or academy players, where I think we're automatically shoved into the round of 16, if I'm not mistaken now. But yeah, man, it's a great opportunity for young players and for those French players that don't get to play so much, for them to obviously stay in shape and get the understanding of the chemistry of what we do as far as Benny ball goes and all that good stuff. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, it sucks it's on Wednesday, but I'm more than likely I'll be right there. Now I don't know if I'm going to be wearing Dynamo colors or if I'm going to be wearing Selecta colors. We'll see. I don't know. Maybe we'll have to find some kind of half and half deal going on. Maybe a hat and a jersey or something. Who knows?
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. But aside from that, man, obviously we got the announcement of the League Cups and what Liga MX teams were going to be assigned to. Obviously, the big one right there is Tigres, Mazatlán, and Puebla. No, Pachuca. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Pachuca.
No, you're good.
Pachuca, obviously, a lot of people are excited because of the old rivalry we had back in the days, which is kind of great because obviously the 20th anniversary of our club, and and Pachuca is that one Mexican club where we had a lot of great matchups, and obviously and different tournaments and different formats and matches and stuff like that. So it would be crazy to kind of reignite that rivalry, but obviously Tigres is the main attraction here as far as Mexican clubs coming over to face us in our group. Just your thoughts on obviously Tigres, Mazatlán, which is one of the lower level teams in Liga MX right now, but you never know. And Pachuca, who obviously Pachuca's Pachuca.
Yeah, Tigres it's always gotta be Tigres, scary regardless of how they are in league play. And simply just because they're just amazing in international competition, and of course, Leagues Cup clubs take a different approach to it, just based on its importance. And the one thing to remember is that we no longer have the full month off for Leagues Cup. This is basically incorporated with the league schedule, so we're still looking at schedule congestion depending how teams do. So it's going to be very important to rotate players out when League Cup starts. I don't know what the approach is going to be for Tigres, but I feel like they're just going to try and go with most of their own starters here.
Yeah.
And this is going to be a massive game for Dynamo. They might just outsell the stadium because it's Tigres, and definitely live in Tigres country in Houston. So, but yeah, that one's going to be a pretty tough game. Mazatlán, a lot of people hate because of the Monarcas and Morelia situation, and yeah, even though they're pretty weak, a lot of people don't like them a lot. But the one I have circled on my calendar 100% is the game against Pachuca, because Salomon Rondon had one of the best years of his career as a striker with Pachuca last year, and he was just like banging goals left and right.
Yeah,
and just had like an amazing year in the Club World Cup that just happened. So, well, it's the Intercontinental Cup now.
It's
Yeah,
speaking of Rondon, I'm sorry to cut you off, Andres.
Good.
It's amazing because obviously he's a player who's played in the Premier League. He's played in Europe and stuff like that. He's never had the biggest impact over there. But to come over and be in Pachuca and just have the type of scoring outburst that he's had, it's and to really kind of like put Pachuca on his back, and carry that team. It's amazing, because he's like 33, 34 years old. So he's pretty up there in age. He's not a spring chicken, but he's a guy who understands his role and understands how to shoot, how to score, how to put the ball in the back of the net. So Juan, I'll let you go because I see that you're a big fan of his. So
yeah. When I was a kid, my dad, we would play FIFA 16 or 17, and he'd always pick some random Russian team, and I'd ask him why, and it's because Salomon Rondon was playing on that one random Russian team. So
that's awesome.
I had the pleasure of watching him play as credential media in March 2024. So, and that's when I saw him for the first time in person. He's really big. So
he's a big guy. Yeah.
Really big. So at least for me, it'll just be amazing to see him again. This time facing my Dynamo, so obviously can't root for him to score a banger. I wouldn't be that mad as long as the Dynamo win. If the Dynamo lose, then I'd be kind of sad. But
3-1 Pachuca, a banger from Rondon. Okay,
yeah, 3-1 Dynamo, banger from Salomon Rondon in the last minute after his invasion.
Or Rondon to score an own goal. I don't know. That would be pretty good.
I don't know how to feel about that. But honestly, talking about Tigres and Mazatlán, I do like that the group is, all Liga MX teams. This is what Leagues Cup is all about, at least for us. Last year we played Real Salt Lake and Atlas. So it was kind of like, cool. We've already played RSL a lot these past couple of years. So, getting
RSL has been our shadow the last couple of years.
But getting Mazatlán, Tigres, and Pachuca will be a really good test because each team gives you a little something different. Like Tigres is just big club energy. Pachuca with Salomon Rondon and then all the little kids surrounding him with like the triple numbers on their jerseys. If you know, you know. But and then
Yeah.
Mazatlan with like the small club but like feisty small club energy. I mean, it gives you everything. So I feel like that how they perform in that group will be very telling of what team the Dynamo actually are.
Yeah, I mean, it's great because, like I said, you get a little bit of everything. Because obviously, Tigres is one of the biggest clubs on this side of the world. Obviously they've won a lot of CONCACAF championships, Liga MX championships, and they've played in Libertadores and all that good stuff. And obviously players like Ginac and Aquino and obviously you can roll off as many players that Tigres have. Big club, and obviously to go toe to toe with those guys to see where we kind of match up. It's going to be a good test for us, and obviously Pachuca, who might be maybe a little bit of a level below Tigres. Another club who's done big things for Liga MX, have won CONCACAF championships and all that good stuff. And then obviously, like you said, Mazatlan, who's a small club recently formed, who are trying to find their way around Liga MX, and they're trying to make a name for themselves as well. And what better way than an international competition against an American team like the Dynamo?
And we'll see what the approach is. Like I said, there's going to be schedule congestion, and we'll see how did the Dynamo go with the Open Cup. And yeah, it's just a matter of who gets to play and how we rotate and who we have available.
For sure, guys. Obviously, this being the first time that I've been on here hosting, guys. Again, thank you for the invite to join your media conglomerate, and be a part of this. Looking forward to doing it on a weekly basis with you guys, whoever decides to join me on a weekly basis, or if I'm here by myself, and regardless of whatever the situation is. Thank you again. I'm looking forward to this new season coming up. Guys, any closing words before we end today?
Yeah, man. I was gonna first of all thank you again for taking over with the hosting duties. It's not only gonna take a little bit of work out of me, but it's also gonna be a good opportunity to have a lot more content to put out there for everyone that's been supporting Foxtrot Media for the past few years. And honestly, it's a shout out to everyone that's just watching or listening. Like they're pretty much driving all of us to keep creating this out of our passion, out of our own time, because we really love the Dynamo, and me and OSG, we really love the Dash, and yeah, we just wanna send that love to everyone. But yeah, man, and also the plugs for social media. Before I forget, we are at Dynamic Foxtrot at Twitter, and now it's X, and also on Instagram and Blue Sky. And we also have a Noodle Tiempo on Twitter X. That's OSG's handle for Dynamo content. And as always, we do have our blogs posted on our Ko-fi page. That's ko-fi.com/dynamicfoxtrot, ko-fi.com/dynamicfoxtrot. And our video form when it comes to our podcast episodes and media availability and whatever we put out, it's always going to be on our YouTube channel, Foxtrot TV. Just search it on YouTube and you're going to see it right away. And also on Goals TV, Goals, that's spelled with a Z, .tv. We put most of our content there as well, including our blog posts and podcast episodes. So feel free to check it out. Also a good way to check out other soccer content creators like us from other teams. And yeah, man, the season's about to start, so look forward to our content coming up.
For sure. Juan?
Well, thank you so much, Mark, for coming, here to help us. Obviously, Herman going to the Deporte Total USA, good move for him. But honestly, man,
Hello, Herman.
yeah, I know, but I'm saying, like, I think you've done a great job already. It's been a pleasure to talk to you, and I know you're gonna kill it. Honestly, just the way you speak,
Yeah.
I'm so excited because really, it's amazing. So again, thank you so much, and at least for the Dynamo fans, be patient. I have a feeling something's gonna happen with the DP10, and even if it doesn't, stuff's already happened, and there's so much soccer to look forward to. With just like next week, She Believes Cup, and then the Houston Dynamo open up against Frisco, and then Inter Miami the week after. I mean, no matter how you slice it,
it's that easy.
Yeah, you're gonna get faster.
I mean, you got a Lucho Acosta now for the Frisco, and then you got Messi, the two best 10s in the MLS. Yeah, I need to start getting my my background. I need to get a background like Andres and you guys. I mean, I need to start getting some stuff in the back. But guys, like again, like I said, thank you very much. This is the first of many. You know, thank you again for allowing me to be on your platform and hosting Noodle Time. I'm looking forward to being a part of the whole season and beyond. And hopefully, we're going for a third MLS playoffs and beyond, and maybe a trophy here and there. Who knows? But with that being said, guys, I mean, y'all have a fantastic night. Thank you.
H is up.
Thank you guys. Yeah, this is what H is up first. There we go. All right.